So go ahead.
Yeah, get started and I'll let him in when he joins. Maybe join right now as well.
Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Ms. McHale?
Here.
Mrs. Darrow?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Akins?
Here.
Mr. Rastegar?
Here.
All right. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? All right, seeing none, we get forward. I didn't entertain a motion for the approval of minutes from May.
So
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are approved. On to monthly activity and finance report.
Madam Chair, directors of the board, thank you for your time today. Excited about we are halfway through our fiscal year, so we've got some fun numbers to report as we are having a record year. And as I forecasted from the budget, we're very close to the budget, so I got a chance to show that as well. Total number of months last month for May. So basically, if you're looking at the bottom line there, the fiscal year 2026, 6 banquets, 12 meetings, and 7 conventions. Again, looking at 2025, that's a really big story is we're getting closer back to the number of conventions. Actually, the same number of conventions as we had in 24, good number of banquets, but just an increase in meetings with the less banquets. But again, good measure compared to the fiscal year 25, where we did 23 events and we did 28 this year. So on the total attendance of those events, you're looking at May and then April again, just what actualized in April. Just want to show that to the board. 26 came in at 14,000 for April. A little under the forecast. We can't force that people show up for these types of meetings or events. So we just forecast what we're given from the clients and then we adjust accordingly. Same thing with May a little bit there. So we'll continue to adjust as needed. If we start seeing attendance drop lower for next year, for this year, we'll adjust accordingly based off of what we're seeing come through from the events and what we're hearing from our clients. But total, we had about a little shy of 10,000 folks come through the building with ECO 2026, one of our biggest revenue generating conferences and conventions, brought in over 1,450 people over a course of 4 days. And then St. Luke's being the largest event from a single day conference, bringing over 1,000 people. So again, good month, very busy for the team. I want to point to the new kind of look of this scale or this experience mod of what we've got from the guest satisfaction scores. What we've done is we've gone away from SurveyMonkey, which is about a $5,000 licensing fee. And our IT team internally has built the survey to the exact same specs as what it was in SurveyMonkey using Microsoft Forms. So our internal IT team is saving us about $5,000 and it has I compared them side by side. We're running the exact same survey. It's just coming out and the visuals is all that's going to come out different, but the averages, everything else is coming out exactly the same. So really proud of the IT team, and Tyler from our IT team was the one that helped put this together. So some significant savings for that, but same exact reporting structure. On the market strategy, again, the team continues to really do a great job of pacing for the year. The future booked revenue sitting at about 82% with over 4 million. Future booked economic impact at 16.1, and future booked room nights sitting at over 28,600 right now. So again, Boise Center submits proposals to host the May 2027 IAVM Region 4 conference, where I'm the director of. I've recused myself from that RFP process, so they will judge the RFPs accordingly without my influence on that. Western Power Sports was contracted for January of 2027 with about 500 room nights and 285,000 in economic impact. And then IETA, which we've had before, contracted for February of 27, again, about 335,000 in economic impact and 500 room nights. You'll just kind of see as they're pacing, they are pacing ahead of where their goals are. So the team is doing a great job. And we're, like I said, starting to see, I think that occupancy or the availability for room blocks in the hotels has really allowed the sales team to continue to pace very, very well. So all the KPIs and all the goals for this year are pacing well ahead, and they look to be met by the end of the year. A couple things on the operational updates. Again, mentioned ECO 26, which is Cellcore Biosciences. We had them in-house from May 14th through the 16th. This drew in 750 in-person attendees, but also they had 750 virtual attendees attending online, live streamed from Boise Center. So audiovisual actuals came in just shy of 200,000. Again, really great conference for us. It's a great chance to showcase our technology along with the facilities. And I think the team did an outstanding job of really showcasing what we can do. Efficiency Exchange Conference in 26 is Northwest Energy Efficiency Alliance, and 30 people attended a tour of our geothermal, as we are one of the few buildings in downtown that has the geothermal, along with the City of Boise's geothermal team. So a little great opportunity to kind of brag about some of our features as a building. I'm going to play the video here, and so I'm going to pause it while they get the sound going for me real quick.
I think the thing that I was surprised about Boise was that it really is such an incredibly cute town. Our attendees love Boise. They love the Boise Center and they enjoy coming here so much. We've got everything at our fingertips. They just have to walk outside the doors and they've got restaurants, they've got hotels, they've got activities that they can enjoy. Our attendees are very, very health conscious. They love being outside and Boise's the perfect spot for them. The fact that I can just walk to my hotel, walk to my colleagues' hotels, everything is just right here, right outside the doors. We've looked at other locations and we've never found a reason to go anywhere else. Boise Center was able to accommodate us when we were just a couple hundred people. And even now when we're almost 1,000 people, the Boise Center can accommodate us still. The affordability of the venue, the service level that we get, and the beauty of Boise, we have no reason to go anywhere else.
Just convention clients. So again, really just opportunity to showcase what the team does here and some of the experiences for those meeting planners as we use this as a testimony video going forward. So I want to thank everybody's efforts in putting that together from our team. Again, CellCore continues to be one of our kind of banner conventions. But again, that energy efficiency conference had about 71,000 in food and beverage spend as one of the large ones, but also CellCore Biosciences over 100,000 in food and beverage spend. So really great pieces of business. Again, those testimonial videos go a long way for meeting planners that are considering Boise that maybe thought it wasn't the right size for a group of their size, and also the technological needs of a group like that. It really positions us well. On the operating revenue side, we broke $1 million month in May, which is exciting to see. Again, continuing to pace on a record year, and I'll just point to, and I think this is more lucky than good, but we are within 10% of the budget right now on the forecast, so I'm $10,000 above budget on a $6.8 million or $6.9 million year so far halfway through. So some of that's more lucky than good, but the numbers came in within.
You mean like 0.1% or something?
Yes.
You said 10%.
Sorry, 0.1%. Sorry. No, 0.1%, 0.15%. I rounded that as a percentage of, yeah, no. So it was within it's in $10,000 of the budget. So the team is doing a great job continuing to use our forecasting tools and looking at the data accordingly. Pacing very strong on the gross profit margin. Again, as we head into summer, this tends to be where the gross profit margin starts to take a little bit of a hit. We're sitting at 24.5 with the goal at 22% this year. So again, as the summer, you'll start to see that come down a little bit. And then we usually have a strong fourth quarter where it'll come back really, really strong for that fourth quarter, which is our busiest quarter. On the Boise Center economic impact for events specifically hosted here at Boise Center, May turned in a $5.5 million month. Again, where it's an economic impact goal of 55 million. Halfway through the year, we're sitting about 58% of the goal. So we're pacing very well on the economic impact at 31.7 million to date. Lodging room revenues, May was an outstanding bump, as you'll see on that, the orange line there for May. So I think all of us from the tourism side are very excited to see that kind of bump in May. In particular, I think a lot of that has to do with just the activities that happened here in Boise for the weather being extremely nice, the activities that are taking place here at the Boise Center, really driving that number. And then also we have a new hotel in downtown. So I think a lot of this is indicative of a great month in particular, but it is something that I'm just going to pay very close attention to because it was a big bump last month in particular. And then on the ADRs, average daily rate, and on the lodging occupancies, again, if you start looking at your average daily rates, just looking at it, we're pacing very good for the month of May, came up to 159, just shy of 160. Looking at it last year was 153, which is a bit of a dip from the 155 over the prior year in 24. So a little bit of correction going on there, but seeing a strong number of 160 and those percentages coming in just shy of 80% is a really good story to hear and see for the district.
And so this includes the new inventory that came online?
This will have the new inventory that's been reported from AC Element.
So are they open?
They are, yes. Okay, a couple district updates here, just real quick on a high level. Construction on the aquatics facility parking lot is currently underway. I know our board chair got a chance to see it. They are in the thick of it right now as far as pouring concrete, getting it all ready. It is expected to be completed with all the punch list items the week of July 13th, which is just in time for a meet that they booked the 16th through the 19th out at the facility there. This is one of them there's a couple pools down in the Northwest right now, and we were able to pick up an additional meet due to that. So this is an opportunity. There is some light poles that have a longer lead time, so we're identifying what that requires from a code standpoint. We're either going to do one of two things, either get temporary lighting brought into the parking lot, or we'll close the parking lot at dark on that side of the parking lot when there's not any adequate light. But those light poles have a 12-week lead time, so they'll come back and install those when they come in. They just don't have the matching silver. They have black in town, but I chose to match the colors to the other side of the parking lot. Initial discussions and really good ones have taken place with all 5 established auditorium districts in Idaho regarding a potential formation of an Idaho Auditorium District Association. There was really great feedback from everybody as far as the proposal that we received from Travis Jones, that they had put together a proposal. He is also the executive director of the Chamber Alliance. So I'm kind of confirming with the Chamber Alliance that there isn't any concerns from a perceived conflict of interest, because there is a small piece of lobbying as part of this, but really the intent of the Auditorium District Association, as I've told our board chair, is education. As more of these form in Idaho, I think making sure that everybody understands we're the longest standing auditorium district in Idaho, so we carry some knowledge and history that I think could assist the others, but also just learning from each other in a way I think is going to be mutually beneficial from all 5 as we go forward. There are more that are being looked at to be established as far as Meridian. Even up in northern Idaho, they're looking at forming one. So more of these that form, I think this is going to be a really great piece. I'll present something in the coming months to the board of what the costs look like, because I think all the auditorium districts are open to formation after the first of their fiscal year, which would be December 1, so they could budget for it. But up till then, I think we could get some formation going at our cost, and it would be at our benefit in all honesty, and then allow that to be carried forward at the cost of everybody sharing it based on their hotel tax revenues that are generated in each of their districts. So dividing that cost out percentage wise based on those hotel tax collections. The FY27 budget process has begun. Initial board finance committee meeting will take place in August, so I'll be in touch with the board about that. Julie's going to be really taking a lead this year. I've got my metrics built out and how I forecast, and I'll be handing that off to Julie and kind of showing her how I've gotten the numbers as close as I have gotten them to. So she's feeling nervous, but at the end of the day, the expectation is not to get within 0.15%. But it's a great tool to use because I think it's working really well. We have a long history. I've been here 20 years. So I think some of that plays into all of the metrics that we're using and getting those accurate numbers. I'll just bring this to the attention. The DBA, I'm on the board there, but they have formed an Adopt a Pot program being considered as for next year fiscal year for the district and the center to support. I want to be presenting a potential proposal to you guys to adopt a few pots in downtown. I think it's a great opportunity to put our message out, whether from the district or the center. And I'll work with Mary Michael on some communications of what that might look like. But I think we could have some fun engagement by adopting some pots. I personally am going to adopt one for Kiwanis, my Kiwanis club. So it's a great, I know Don Day in the room wrote an article about the Adopt a Pot program. But I think it's a really great way for kind of people to get out there and just show that you're supporting our downtown.
What's Adopt a Pot?
Sorry, Mike's brother. You haven't read the Don Day article on the same?
I didn't write it, just.
Okay. It was on Boise Day, sorry.
Oh,
It is the downtown flower pots.
Ah,
I thought I had mentioned this to the board at one point,
Right.
so I probably need more information here. So the downtown flower pots that are spread out all over downtown is DBA's largest expense. They're looking at trying to absorb some of that expense by having the pots adopted. So thank you for asking the question, because I just assume people know what I'm talking about. Okay, with that, I'll entertain any questions on the first part of the report, and then because Stephanie is out sick today, I will complete the financial report. Any questions on the first portion? Okay. Under the treasurer's report, again, we're seeing very much from the budget. It's falling very close in line. We're outpacing the budget by $10,000 on the year-to-date of Boise Center revenues. District revenues are a little more than that, and some of that's due to those tax collections on the hotel side outpacing what we forecasted, and then just doing some controls on our expense side that's been benefiting that year-to-date revenues and the budget. Transfers and discounts, so facility rental discounts pacing very similar to what we would expect. A large portion of that is from Festival of Trees. So we start out the year with a big kicker, and then it gets in the fall, a lot more come through in the coming months after we get through the summer in particular. So you'll see a lot of that continue to be filled up on those facility rental discounts. And then on the Boise Center operating transfers, again, we're pacing year to date at 2.3. Prior month was 831. This just goes up and down depending on how much we needed to subsidize the center from an operation income side each month. On the hotel tax collection side, it was $1 million hotel tax collection month. So again, very, very happy to see May at a very strong return for the hotel tax revenues. We forecasted the year at 12.4. We're pacing right there. If you look at, it's a little ahead of where it's at, 150,000, 157,000 above budget year to date. So again, somewhere in that 12.4, 12.5 number, I feel confident with finishing this year. On the capital budgeting, we have a $3.9 million budget for this year's capital, which is one of our largest, as you'll see the large items on the right side of the screen. And we've spent just about half of that budget to date. We're just at 1.9 million and we have 2 million left for the remaining on the capital transfers. Added in some more information here because I think when we say cash, where we're at, we've made some commitments to future land that I wanted the board to see. Now, again, I've got some more information that I'll present in future months about when timing of all of these transactions will actualize. One of the agenda items today potentially could move one of those out a little further. So again, some of this is to be kind of decided by the board within the next coming months, but we still have the 22,750,000 remaining from the 11th River due at closing. So when we're done with that, that will be coming up. The potential of the closing date is being amended, is on the board for discussion today, or decision today. And then we have remaining consultant broker fees of about 373,000, and then 250,000 for the 9th and River broker fee. So if you're looking out, total committed yet to be paid is about 23.3 million. If you take out all of our cash minus the reserves, so I'm not counting the reserves into that, we'd be sitting at about 5.8, but that's not going to come out all this year. So I want to make sure I'll put together with Stephanie a nice showing the board what those expected expenses and when they would be actualized will come through. Also when tax revenues hit the district side, so we know how much cash flow we have. And I'll present that to the board in the coming months. I've already started that process and it's looking strong. So the investment side, again, this is where we've got most of our money that would be coming from to pay for the 11th and River parcel when we close. Still sitting at 32. This does have the 2.5 million out for the option. So this is the 2.5 million out plus some of the payments that we've made into escrow for the properties. And we're on net income is about 104, but as Stephanie says, the realized actual is about 99,896. So just shy of 100,000 on investment income, which is great. With that, I entertain any questions about the financial report.
Questions? With that, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Well, Bailey.
Welcome up Leland Miller, and I apologize, I did not catch Kyle. Kyle, yes, sounds good. Okay, I've sent emails with you, I just had not met you in person.
Well, good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. We appreciate this opportunity to be able to just visit with you for a few minutes regarding this year's audit. You've been talking current and future, we're going to go in the past. And so this basically what we're going to be discussing about the fact of the financial statements as of and for the year end of November 30th of 2025. But before we get into more of our presentation, just want to thank Stephanie and her group and everyone else here for their efforts to be able to get us the information to be able to do our audit, and working with them and us putting together the set of financial statements that you have in front of you. So just briefly to go over some highlights from the financial statements, turning to page 1. This is our auditor's opinion. So it's the 3 pages worth of information. We're basically stating in the second paragraph there on the first page is that we're giving a clean opinion of the financial statements that are being presented in this report. That we refer to as an unmodified opinion. There wasn't any issues or anything that we needed to bring to your attention in our auditor's report, and or if we didn't agree with a presentation of an amount or something like that, we would modify or qualify our opinion. But we are issuing a clean opinion for the set of financial statements for 2025. So that's probably the biggest, most important thing when it comes to our auditor's opinion. Before I go a little bit more, you're probably wondering, well, why is Kyle here? Kyle is the senior on the project. So this is his first board presentation he's ever been to, so be nice to him. But he's also the one that was in charge of working with the team on the day-to-day basis. He's into the details and everything like that. So when you ask a really tough question and I don't know, Kyle will be there to help me out, at least when it comes to the detailed information. But at least I just wanted to properly introduce him to you regarding the why he's here. If we go ahead and turn to page 6 of the financials, this is the management discussion analysis. This section here was what put together for by management, and it's written by and it's from the perspective of management of all the sections of the whole financial statement. To me, this is the most important area when it comes to readers of the financial statements. They go through and they explain, describe the financial statements, but also provide an explanation of changes that occurred from last year to this year. And so, the reader can go in and gain that understanding because they can see there's changes in numbers, but why and everything. And so this section was put together by management. It's there for providing additional information when it comes to the set of the financial statement. So that section covers the why and how come. If we go to page 15. And here where we have it referred to as a statement of net position or also your balance sheet. So it shows your assets, your liabilities, what is your net position. Under the column for governmental activities is basically your general fund information, which is the Boise Center information, as well as the revenues and expenses and so forth, which is on the following page. Your business type activities is showing when it comes to the aquatics and also for I knew I did this. But your Boise, I got those mixed up. So Boise Center information, the general fund is there under your governmental activities. So sorry for the confusion, but that gives you an idea of what those columns are representing. One of the things is that if you were to go back and look at the information that had been presented throughout the year, at the end of the year, if there was differences of what was being presented, it was because of year-end closing. So there'll be some accruals from when it comes to your accounts payable. You'll have some receivables where you've earned a revenue, but you haven't collected the cash. And those will be some of the differences from what you've been seeing throughout the year compared to what these financial statements put together. So there's some minor, but we would say that they're minor, but like the biggest change on your governmental activities is going to be the investments. Change there, approximately about $4 million that were added during the year as a result of operations and so forth. And then with the business type activities, there's a slight increase just from, maybe some additional capital assets that were added was probably the biggest area of things that where we see those changes. So the other financial statement information provides a little bit more detail. So it breaks out the business type activities. You'll see the Boise Center and the aquatics information. That's going to be on page 19 and 20. And so that just those financial statements just provide some additional detail. I think have you go to page 23. And 23 is beginning of the footnotes. Footnotes provide even more information in regards to your cash, what makes up your investments, what are your capital assets, what are debts or the liabilities and so forth that are associated with the financial statements. And so there's some additional information when it comes to your financial statements. As someone has been doing financial statements for a long time, You know, I was a kid, but is the fact that if you have an insomnia problem, read the footnotes. They'll put you to sleep, but there is good information that's throughout there. I just want to point out the fact that the only change from last year to this year, when it comes to the footnotes, and very minor, is that there was a new standard, accounting standard that came out that changed the way that you would calculate your compensated absences, your PTO, your sick leave, and those type of things. From your perspective, it really didn't change the name, not the name, the amount of that calculation based on how it was calculated before. But that was the only change. And so what we have is a footnote saying, hey, here's a new standard. It really didn't materially change how you calculated it, and the information being presented is very similar to what was presented in the past. So I think then the last thing I want to point out to you, if we go to page 40. You know, not only do we do procedures and everything to be able to give an opinion on the financial amounts that are being presented, we're also required under your government auditing standards, since you're a government entity, is to go through and gain an understanding of your internal controls over your accounting system. So is there proper segregation of duties? Is there reconciliations being done, but not only being done, but also reviewed? Are just a couple of examples of some internal controls. And then so whereas we do testing over internal controls, we do not give an opinion. However, if something came to our attention, you have a breakdown of internal controls, then we basically are required to report that there's a finding, that there was a breakdown of your internal controls. Now, while we do have a finding, it is a finding that we've had on there for the past several years as a result of, as auditors, if we're requested to help put together financial statements, we're required to put that in writing and we present that to you. So that's a continuation finding. That is nothing unusual or anything that you should be concerned about when it comes to your internal controls. It's just giving you as the board the indication that, yeah, that is still there and we're still helping preparing the financial statements. So we didn't have any findings where there was a breakdown of your internal controls. And that's a effort by everybody. That starts here at the board level with the right tone at the top, management being serious about internal controls being followed, and then, you know, everybody that's everyone else that's associated with those controls are doing those. So we're happy to report there wasn't any new findings or anything related to your internal controls when it comes to your financial reporting. So overall, from a financial statement perspective, a good report as a result that we had a clean opinion, and that we didn't have any new auditor findings when it comes to your internal control. Just a couple of other things. There is a second report, staple report. We are required to put in writing certain communication to the board, and that we there's certain boilerplate type information. I'm just going to highlight on a few of the important ones. On the second page, we are reporting to you that we are independent. Without that independence, we would be unable to issue an opinion. And so, you know, that in fact, and insert that we are independent, that we're able to get this report. We report to you about the new statement that had been issued, but it was not material. And then also that we didn't have any difficulties encountered during the audit, and that we didn't have any differences or disagreements with management. Now, some of the, on page 3, there's a section at the very top that says about uncorrected or corrected misstatements. Or basically, were there any journal entries that we identified that you guys needed to post? Or were there some, what we refer to as immaterial amounts that could have been corrected to the financial statements, but they were small enough that didn't warrant to go ahead and make the journal entry to correct the financial statements. And so there it talks about the fact of that we had some past journal entries. These are things that we've had, one manager was aware of it, two decided that because of the timing of the audit and everything, it wasn't worth making the entry at this point in time, nor would it affect anybody when they're reviewing the financial statements, that it would affect their decision-making about the overall health of the organization. And so again, we're just presenting that to you. These are nothing new. These are ones that we've had before in the past. Right, yeah. So they're just carry forwards from that. So those are some of the comments from this report here. Again, overall, we appreciate everyone's efforts for getting us to this point. And I guess we'd open up for any questions or anything that I went too fast about, but you know, again, this is history, but we're just confirming the fact that the amounts are materially correct. I mean, there wasn't any significant breakdowns in your internal controls over the county system.
I'll just add a couple comments here, just thanking Leland and Kyle for their time, but Stephanie did say just kind of that the investment income is perceived interest, not what was actualized. So those were kind of the comments there was what was perceived as interest versus what was actually interest. So she can answer some of that, but those were two of those notes that were on that page 3. Regarding those. Investment income. But I'll just also recognize on the PTO accrual, I know Tasha on our finance team really helped on that. That was a lot of manual entry component with that new reporting.
Right.
Does it GASB 101 require the reporting of compensated absences? That was a lot of work on their end. So I just want to recognize the finance team and Tasha in particular, who does our payroll, doing a lot of work to correct that.
And so will that be fixed in the payroll? Because I'm assuming it came in the payroll system, right?
Yeah, after the implementation, going through the gyration, there wasn't much of a difference between last year and this year, if I was calculated. So.
Any other questions? Great.
The one last little thing is we'll need to collect all the boundary reports from you. We noticed one small little error that we need to fix. One of the letter of introduction from management from Cody is dated differently from our auditor's opinion. Minor, but it is something we need to fix. So we'll just turn those in and Cody will with the step and improve that from everybody. Now, if you take it home, it won't blow up the world, but just it'll be something that
We'll collect them.
So, all right, thank you for your time.
Thank you guys.
What is that? That's an action item. That's an action item.
We need to make a motion to approve
Motion to
it.
approve the audit, yeah.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. You're done.
Madam Chair, pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061C, I move that we enter into an executive session or to discuss acquiring an interest in real property which is not owned by the city of Racine.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. So by roll call?
Ms. McCall,
Yes.
Mrs. Darrow,
Yes.
Mr. Erkins,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Rastigar.
Yes.
Might be able to share my screen while we're.
All right, we're back in open session.
Is Tim still there?
I'm here.
Made it.
All right, on to item F. Cody and Chase, we wanted to kind of give
Oh,
a
you might just mention you came out of exec session
That-
at whatever time it is.
321. 321.
Yeah, under item F, just kind of the board consideration for amendment to the 11th and River purchase and sell agreement. Some of this is just related to a request from the seller that it would be beneficial to them and not detrimental to us to extend the close date out to August of 2027. That'll allow us to keep our money in the interest accruing, and on the investment side, allows the seller more time to work through with either potential tenant movements or securing another property. So I think this is a good opportunity to be good faith effort to extend make the amendment to extend that close where it doesn't have any negative effect. We did ask for some terms and conditions to allow us to access site. So if we've got consultants or people that want to look at the site, we still would have the ability to access during that time.
So we can still move forward with all the
All the planning,
Plans and
consulting, yep, absolutely.
evaluations and things that we need to do.
I don't see a downside to do it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I move that we amend the closing date on the 11th and River parcel, the up to August of 2027.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And I guess just to clarify, it's any time between now and August
They
20.
could, they have to give us 30-day
30-day
notice.
notice.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, amendment with the closing date is approved. All right, on to item G. Exploratory committee, I'll let you introduce this one.
Yeah, as we've had an opportunity to look at several, obviously the 11th and River parcel popping up first is the large one, and then that spurred a few other conversations with neighboring parcels and opportunities that may exist there. We did have on the 9th and Lee Street opportunity to look at the parcel, which is the old Mardi Gras building. Taking a look at the site itself, and the facility itself is probably doesn't have much life left in it. Needs brought up to code, but as far as the access to 9th Street, the close proximity to the current Boise Center, and the close proximity to the other two parcels, there's an opportunity there for the district to consider ownership of that. And then it gives us control of both sides of the street there on Lee, as well as both sides of the street on 9th between the records parcel and the 11th and River.
So we checked out the building and went on a tour in the inside of this place. I was hoping that might be able to be used for something, but it's pretty rough. So there's not really many endearing things about it, except for maybe the giraffe safari wallpaper downstairs in the dungeon. Yeah, it's kind of rough. So there's probably not a lot of utility for it in its current condition. We probably use it as storage. In the meantime, there are also roughly 15 parking spots that go along with this, currently being managed by, was it Park Mobile or Car Park? Car Park, I think. So a little bit of income there, but maybe also potentially something that we could use for our employees.
And what's the size of the acreage?
0.49 acres.
Just a little over 21,000 square feet.
Yeah, that'd be big enough. I mean, once we start construction to stage.
Yep, it'll be a good staging area. We need to look at the code. It's possible that if you are using the parking for your own business, that the city code would be okay with that. Somebody mentioned it. I haven't dug into it super deep. But if that is possible, that could be up to like 40 parking spaces. And
We'd have
that,
to,
yeah, demo it and then, yep. But
and what's the approximate cost of demo?
Couple hundred thousand.
200 maybe.
Yeah.
Depending on asbestos, lead-based paint, that kind of stuff. We have to we would need to do an environmental to determine what that's gonna look like and then get bids, but yeah, probably a couple $100,000.
Got it, okay.
Yeah.
So it's probably more useful as,
More flexibility in the future for development, reduction of expenses potential exists in the short term. I have it to prescribe.
in the street between
Lee.
Records and Isley, right?
Yep, Lee Street. Yeah, I think the way that we kind of looked at it when it popped on the market is like, well, that could help us have some flexibility if we are able in my pie in the sky plans to potentially do something with those streets. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but you could reorient things and how they work. But
And to the north is Foothill School.
north is Foothills. Yep.
Is there a buffer?
Not much of
Not
one.
really. Yeah. Foothills probably wants it as a playground.
There is a little property line between Mardi Gras end and where Foothills starts, so it's not like it's adjacent right on top.
So, but I think it will provide flexibility. It'll be something that we can use in the future. And I don't think having the land is going to be a negative at any point. I think, you know, as Cody and I started this 2 years ago, Seattle spent a ton of money to get 8 contiguous acres. And this is getting us somewhere close to that.
What would it max out? Total acreage?
Does it take us to 6.4 contiguous with everything together now?
So streets in between, but yeah.
Streets in between with potential, yeah, there's some other square footage there if evacuations were ever to be a potential or an option. at that point, there was 21 different entities moved to get the 8 acres in downtown Seattle. And we have 3 tenants on one of the sites that we need to negotiate with. But beyond that, the others have been, one of them's an empty site and the other one's a business that's going to be looking at selling or moving. So.
And this was currently an active listing, right?
Yep.
So somebody, I mean, if we don't buy it, somebody else will.
It's,
Maybe.
it could be,
Yeah, future proofs us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
the way this deal would work is there'd be 100,000 in earnest money to be deposited at the time of signing, so pretty much tomorrow or this week, and then 3.5 due at the end of the 60-day closing period.
And what's gonna happen during that 60-day closing? Do we have more?
Or 45 day.
Oh.
60 is on the other
And so
side.
what do you still have to do? And that you said in environmental?
Yeah, we're currently considering doing an environmental, no survey, there's a recent survey.
If we were gonna use the building, we would go through more due diligence, which is why we asked for 60 days on some of the other stuff. But at this point, without the building being reused, it's environmental only.
Okay.
Yeah, to clarify, the 45 days is for the due diligence period, and then the closing occurs 15 days after that expires. Within 15 days.
But did the 45 days already start? Because there's a new.
Yes, yeah, the 45 days started May 26th.
And so to put this in motion, we have to empower the exploratory committee to set the motion.
Sure.
well, we would need to assume the purchase and sell agreement from DeChase Miscus. Right, so they put it under contract already. And then if we choose to do it, then we need to assign that over to us and then go through and do the due diligence.
Other questions, comments about this?
I just will say again for the exploratory committee and Chase, I know you've spent a lot of time research, as you said, 2 years researching this and to find a nearly contiguous piece of land that allows for the district to stay concentrated and provide value to the community and expand our amenities is very exciting.
And also just point to that lack of disruption to the current site and then the flexibility that we'll have in the future. Those are 2 big benefits to me, looking at it from the executive director side.
We have some more frontage on Ninth and River,
I mean, it's, yeah,
right? You can't, that's,
when I think back to parcel C,
yeah.
but that would have been a miserable place. To live, I think. So, this is perfect.
All right.
I'm going to move to enter into assuming the assignment assumption agreement for the property at 9th and Lee, which I refer to as Mardi Gras Building. And then assign to Cody and I with the exploratory committee to go through, do the due diligence, and assuming everything turns out, go through with the purchase. So,
Yeah, finalize that
Second.
terms.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, property number 3.
Okay.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, thanks for all the work.
Appreciate it.
That kind of teases us right into
All right, item number H.
item H. So one of the things as we've now secured some property, we've done our due diligence on as far as getting some, the Johnson report, Johnson Consulting, as far as what would be feasible for the district to consider. And there are a lot of options within Johnson's report that say, hey, these are all feasible options. Now with the land that we have, the next step really, and most of this is done in other cities and other places, they've done with school districts here in Idaho, is doing what they call a facility test fit. And that is taking a look at your land and taking a look at your feasibility study and saying, hey, take these 2 things and pair them together and play a little bit with what could potentially be. And so what I'm asking is a proposal for professional services to go out to that RFQ using Paradigm as the owner's rep on that process. This would be a kind of a phase 1 would be the RFQ for a facility test fit procurement. So they would go out and we would put the spec specific to the Johnson's report, looking at what's been called out in that report in both scopes of that report as options to consider for the site that we have. And then that process would go through a ranking system. We would basically determine based on qualifications versus price, who we'd want to work with. And then once we've entered into that agreement, the process for that test fit would be managed on behalf of Paradigm. I like this idea and having them be the owner's rep for the second phase of what I call phase 2 of this test fit procurement process. What that allows me to do is kind of, they run up an owner's rep services similar to what we've used at the Aquatic Center and others. This is kind of a job interview if we're going to use owner's rep services on a larger project in the future. I have not worked with this group in the past. They had come highly recommended. I've met with them several times. They seem like that they're the right group to do this kind of work. They're also local, which I tend to lean into a lot. I know that I've had some conversations with Pine Street Group too about that kind of local component. The complexity of the sites isn't the same as what we thought it might be if we had 21 entities to have to move. So this is an opportunity to work with Paradigm. Like I said, phase 1 is just putting out the RFQ, selecting. Phase 2 would then be working through the process, just like we did once we selected Johnson, with stakeholder engagements, going through all of that process to make sure that they're capturing all the details needed to put together a full test fit to what our likings and our specs called for.
And so this is basically so that you and Chase don't have to manage that process,
We
correct?
can do our full-time jobs, yes.
Yeah.
This is quite a few hours of work.
And this is something that they do all the time, so they're much more adept at managing this process and getting the RFQ language correct.
Correct.
So Cody, to clarify, you anticipate hiring Paradigm to manage the RFP process, RFQ process, correct?
Correct, yeah. Phase 1 is the RFQ development and the process of that. So they'll develop the RFQ, post it, go through and make the selection and work with us on that. Then phase 2 is an owner's rep services as you get into consultant administration, stakeholder engagement, program and operational reviews, technical and strategic oversight, and then board support, meaning if there's any questions here from the board side or my side, they run all of that process.
You're anticipating that, run through that RFQ process, then come back to the board and have the board bless the final decision? Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Or they'll just supply the information and, right, and the results. And-
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of one of the options here that I have in front is this facility test pit procurement RFQ process. Then the other piece here, and this has got also 2 phases to it. I'm not asking the board for recommending anything on phase 2 of this part. And this is the financial advisory and debt capacity analysis. So as we get into these options and we look at what could be physically possible on the site based off of our feasibility, what can we afford? So it starts running out some pro formas, forecasting future hotel tax considerations, subsidy needs under the current operations, the swimming pool, all of the
The
financial,
money side of it.
the money side of
So
it.
this is what we could build that would fit. This is like, can we afford it?
Yep.
Got it.
And so kind of getting who can do that work. Now, since we haven't decided what we're going to build or what kind of facility or all of that yet, I'm not saying that we would need to go into phase 2, which is then you start working on really scoping out that next services of who could provide it. I want to find out who are the people that can do this work with them. But as far as the next step or the next phase of using them in an owner's rep services, that's part of this proposal. I'm not recommending we go down that road. It's too soon for that.
And so would these run concurrently?
Correct, yes. That was their recommendation too, is to run these concurrently. I asked that question of Paradigm, would you recommend they think it's a benefit to run them concurrently? Because then you'll be able to really start taking action sooner if you've got your
You
money
don't need,
piece.
you don't need this to do the money?
Correct.
It looks like this would be a 5 to 6 month process.
Facility test fit process, yes, for the owner's rep. Which one are you looking at? Sorry.
If you're running concurrently, I thought they would be this.
But there's a scope, a phase 2 scope inside the facility advisor or the financial advisory debt capacity piece. That is the piece I'm not saying that we would enter into at this time. I think it's going to be too soon to do that.
I guess the financial piece, we need that information in order to turn it over to,
Piper Sandler is
Yeah.
usually what they
This
kind
is
of
not to
pairs.
be.
not to you.
No, it pairs with Piper Sandler or somebody
Right.
like that that
Yeah.
then works on hotel forecasting, bonding capacities. This is a kind of a
Yeah,
piece
so
of
this is
that.
the first phase of that bonding capacity conversation.
Yes.
Right.
This isn't necessarily what the bonding capacity uses to determine your bonding capacity, but it's going to tell us as operators, are we comfortable with what our bonding capacities and what we can pay back?
Got it. You don't want to run this? Come on. Do you have more time? Don't you?
So what I'm asking the board for is just kind of the approval to work through the negotiations at the cost of the phase 1 or both of those going simultaneously. And then phase 2 of the facility test fit piece, once we actually get the person selected, I want to actually go through and do that work.
So this is information that we would have potentially by the end, before the end of the year.
Correct. Yep.
So what total cost we?
It's about so as far as the facility test fit, it's about 12,000 fixed fee for that process to run under phase one. And then about 13,000 for phase two, which is a monthly fee, and they're anticipating 5 months, but I think it's gonna be 3 to 4 is what we've talked about based off of our scope of work. They put that in there as a conservative number. So that's the one that I'd be asking the board to approve today. It's all under about 40, 50,000 for that piece there. Goes to 5 years, it would go up to above 50.
5 months.
5 months, sorry. And then the procurement of the owner's rep services as far as financial advisory and debt capacity, that's only the $10,000 phase one. The $8,000 phase two part for a monthly, I'm not saying we go down that yet. That would be in the future, once we've determined or made a decision on what type of facility, what kinds of
And as
phases we were gonna do and all of that. So
securing a professional services is under the standards, the threshold to put out.
a lot of these aren't required to go to bid. It's just in best practice to do it. And also it allows you, I like the RFQ process because it's based on qualifications and I can select somebody versus just going out to cheapest price.
Right. But I'm talking about like their professional services,
Correct.
like hiring these guys, we don't have to bid it out, right? You know what I'm saying?
The dollar amounts for hiring
Correct.
these folks.
Is
are not,
is
but
below
they-
threshold.
again, they're gonna come back for the
Right.
bigger amount for
Correct.
the other people.
I'm just talking about what we pay per
Paradigm.
And yep, correct. So all these are under the thresholds for procurement. They are, to Mike's point, one, probably if we go out to an owner's rep services or for future stuff on a bigger project, they'd want to probably respond to that. I see this as kind of a job interview for us to try out as the owner's rep under the first phase one and phase two. Phase one of just the financial piece, but the owner's rep, I would like to use them to run that process just like we did with Johnson, where I had them alongside me, meeting with all of the performing arts folk, getting all of that data and all that pieces run. So,
And you guys would still stay in contact and you just don't run the process.
correct.
Other conversation, comments, questions about this? And
Paradigm's
you know
well
them.
known,
You know
yes.
them.
Yep.
Facility
They're
test
very
fits I've learned a lot
reputable.
about, and they are very common within other markets. I have a few examples of like Lubbock, Texas, putting out one, like I said, very similar, where it used a CSL study and land that they had and said, hey, let's tell us what we can potentially do. And it's kind of an opportunity for, without getting into all the architectural engineering components of it, more of what could fit on the land and how it could be programmed and used. And they'll provide several options. So using the Johnson's report, not painting us into a corner of any one particular facility type, but many options being provided going forward.
And you said they worked with the school.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot of government contracts, but school districts is one of theirs that they used as an example for what they've done test fits on before.
And this is kind of the standard out process.
And then we'll obviously coordinate this stuff with my partner Tom, who will work us all through.
These fees are
Procurement and
standard.
other Zooms.
I haven't seen the fees enough to know if they're standard, but it seems fine.
So we're not going over, it's 87,000 or if we did do 5 months.
If they go to full 5.
12, the 10 and the 13 a month, 5 months.
What I can tell you is it's very in line with the same fees that we were paying Pine Street Group during the time when I was using them for some consulting services. They ran the RFQ process for Johnson's, that we ended up selecting Johnson, and we paid them time and material, and it was very similar to the pricing. I ran those side by side actually. It wasn't a fixed cost was the only difference, so it was a little less, so I didn't know what number exactly it was gonna be at.
Well, Madam Chair, we need a motion then? Okay. I move that empower Cody to enter into contract with Paradigm for both scopes of work.
As you mentioned, the phase.
Just
one.
no phase 2 on the financial component.
Financial. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Well, this will be the exciting part, right? We actually get to make, see some,
We're starting to get fun.
yeah, drawings and
Drawings and stuff.
options and.
Pictures with this one, so yeah, there's a lot of like images and stuff to test and look at, so it's kind of fun process. So, I think it's gonna, we'll continue to update the district website with all this information, so we're being as transparent as possible as what our steps are, what our next steps are, so it'll show that on the future of the district portion. I've got Mary Michael teed up to update that once she's on vacation right now, but once she gets back, she'll have all that stuff ready to go.
Yeah, because I can assume that once we get some of this test fit stuff, that pictures, and I'm sure the community would be interested in what the options are, and what it might look like, or potentially.
Yeah.
Okay, exciting stuff. There you go. All right, seeing no other business for the board, meeting's adjourned.
I'm gonna take that other bound copy so we can get the letter corrected to the date.
Got it.
So do you have one?
Take that one.